ruin has come to our family.
I'm Reginald Gickington, and you can call me Reggie, and today, returning from a brief hiatus, I'll be continuing our painting journey through the miniatures of the Darkest Dungeon board game by Mythic Games. For today's episode, we'll be painting the Skeleton Specialists, the Armored Bone Defender, and the Deadly Bone Spearman. These two are fairly rare amidst the ruins, though not quite as rare as the Captain and Bearer mini-bosses. They're quite capable of disrupting your ranks and dealing some decent damage though, and they're very fun to paint too, so let's get started. To begin with, I've primed both miniatures in black. First up will be the Defender, for which we'll be using Leadbelcher and Corn Red to block out their armor. Leadbelcher goes all over the chest plate, the greaves, the gauntlets, the hood, the axe blade and pommel, and the shield rim and center. Honestly, about 80% of the model is going to get Leadbelcher. Otherwise, we're applying Corn Red to the entire skirt and to the wax seal on their chest plate. Next comes Rakarth Flesh and Runelord Brass. Rakarth Flesh goes on the skull, as well as the little strip of paper hanging off of the wax seal. Runelord Brass, on the other hand, is applied to the shoulder pads, the handle of the shield, and the studs on the skirt panels. Now we're using Steel Legion Drab to take care of the leather parts of the boots, the gloves, the sleeves, and the wooden part of the shield, like so. Now comes the wash, with an all-over application of black wash. Don't forget to apply a second coat of black wash onto the grip of the axe and the straps on the back of his boots to darken them down even further. Up next is going to be Cygor Brown, which we will apply all over the wood parts of the shield. It's going to darken it down to a lovely wood tone, and a little bit later we're going to bring out the wood grain to really make it pop. To finalize the skirt, we're using Corn Red and Mephiston Red. Corn Red is going as a big highlight on each panel, avoiding the stud detail, and Mephiston Red is just lining the bottom. We'll also apply the same standard to the wax seal. The entire outer ring gets Corn Red and the bottom half gets Mephiston Red. Now we're going to finish the wood with a dry brush of Steel Legion Drab. Really try to avoid hitting the metal parts while doing this, and remember that less can be more. Rakarth Flesh comes next, with applying it very thin down onto the skull, following the highlight points we tend to use on faces. The brows, the nose, or lack thereof, the cheeks, and the jaw are the main points you want to hit. Also, give a little edge highlight to the paper strip on his chest plate. Think of it like a ladder, with two vertical lines and then some horizontal rungs along the folds in the paper. We're going to highlight the Runelord Brass parts with another coat of the same color, just dotting each stud on the skirt and hitting the raised edges on the shoulders and the shield handle. Now comes time to finalize the base and do the shadows. In the Darkest Dungeon art style, metal parts often receive a complete edge highlight in black, which can be difficult, but is often rewarding to put in the effort to do. I advise you look to the game art for inspiration, because the black shadows are quite pronounced on this figure in particular. And that wraps up the Bone Defender, looking quite stalwart and staunch. Next, for the Bone Spearman, we're going to start with Scragbrown and Leadbelcher. Scragbrown goes all over the leather parts of the chest piece, and Leadbelcher on the skirt, the helmet, the shoulder pads, and the spear tip. For the bones, we'll use Rakarth Flesh. Be sure to hit the tips of his toes on his one torn boot as they are exposed. Steel Legion Drab comes next on the gloves, the spear haft, the boots, his scarf, and the belt and pouch on his hip, along with the trim of his gambeson around the bottom. Applying Black Wash, the entire mini is going to miraculously jump from 50% to 90% done right before your eyes. It really is called Liquid Talent for a reason. Just be sure to leave it off the spear hilt for the time being, since we'll be doing something special for it later. To match the wood of the Bone Defender's shield, we're going to use Cygor Brown on the spear hilt, at the same time hit the bag on the back of their hip. Returning to Steel Legion Drab, we're going to be doing some highlighting on the gloves, the boots, the gambeson lining plus scarf, and doing a dry brush of the spear hilt the same way we did for the Bone Defender's shield. Scragbrown is up next, doing something very similar to what we did for the Bounty Hunter's gambeson, little flipped L's on each square. Now these don't need to be perfect corners each time, you can often go with just a horizontal line at the top of each square, but some of the squares have a bit of a texture to them, and can you actually follow the shapes of the padding to break up the corners. Also do a quick edge highlight around the ribs where the fabric is torn. Next comes Rakarth Flesh, applied to the arms and kneecaps as a highlight. In my opinion, the face didn't end up needing it, and neither did the ribs, though you can feel free to highlight them too if you want. For one last detail, hit his belt buckle with a lead pilcher. And that just leaves the shadows and the base the same way we always do them. And just like that, our specialists are done. They might not be as common as some of the other skeletons we've done so far, but between the Bone Defender's high armor and stunning attacks, and the Bone Spearman's high single target damage, they're no less integral to the roster of enemies. Have fun painting your Darkest Dungeon miniatures, and feel free to tag me on Instagram @ReggieGick to show me how yours turn out. Links to my affiliated socials can be found in the description. Feel free to subscribe or like the video if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you soon with another painting tutorial.